Hello, good evening. Welcome to everyone. Today I'm just on my own today. I've got no guests on it, but I thought it'd be a great opportunity to reflect on my personal journey and also the channel's journey. Um, I'll be going into detail on some of the shows we've had, some of the hosts, because I think it's a really interesting journey and very interesting stories being shown on this channel. My name's Chris Rebound. Been doing a few shows with the guys since I didn't realise it was since the 25th of March. March. So it's been over a month, but some really great shows. So I'm looking back forward to sort of reflecting on a few of them and also just signposting really. So I think I think what's really good at the moment is so much content out there. It's about me finding it to experience and enjoy it. 'Cause there's so much good stuff coming out at the moment, and as well as also talk about what I've done on the channel and what the channel's done and what the other hosts have done. We'll be sort of briefly mention other great shows out there that I've yet to watch. Say I've been busy doing this or research, so I really look forward to say a few of the shows I've caught up with. I've just when I was on air at the same time, and there's a lot of great content at the moment. So I thought I'd start with the show. And I said the first show of Upstreamedia was on the 25th of March. And I think they really timed it well because I think it coincided with quite a lot of things going on at the time. Obviously, having something to discuss and a medium to discuss basketball, especially when there wasn't any basketball, it was really most important. And hats off to Rupert Charles and Upstreamedia for that service. So it's been invaluable for me spreading basketball news and also developing my on-camera skills. So give me the opportunity to commentate, and that was their bread and butter during the season, the live streaming of Thames Valley Cavaliers home games. So I say when they started 25th of March, we obviously didn't have any basketball going on, but also at the same time, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and actually the timing when the show started really coincided well with that. So the show started off with Rupert with his friends, and a few times that was Martin and Wayne, or it would be Coach Banks, Thames Valley Cavaliers. And I definitely recommend going back to those first few shows. Some really great content. They covered a wide range of topics related to grassroots basketball, academies, and some really interesting stuff about whether an academy should go up, because it got me thinking, because you have all the age groups from the under 14s, under 16s, and 18s, and it's not like the seniors where maybe that core players would still be with clubs. So if an under 16 team went up, actually, is that the best interest of the under 16 team? Because maybe those players would be down to under 18s, or might be under 14s who maybe not as good as the under 16 coming up. And that was obviously discussed with people who have first hand knowledge. So obviously, hear me talk about it, but they go into much better depth, and I really recommend the first few shows to talk about it. Apologies. And then moving on, this there was lots of things going on behind the scenes with Basketball England that the guys were able to jump on straight away and talk about having this daily show. So it'd be really good. We've had them talk about the league. So because obviously with the season finished in limbo, the NBL made a decision of how to end it, and it was really great to have Coach Banks and Thames Valley Cavaliers talk about the impact of that. Obviously, there's no right or wrong way to finish the league, but actually they sort of went into the maths of it, and it was a really interesting show, and I definitely recommend you head into that show. I was very lucky to get given the opportunity quite early on and being part of this great journey as channels develop and get better, and we've got some great hosts and all the content we do. I've really enjoyed watching all the shows. Say quite often when I finish a show, I don't watch the next show. I need a bit of time to unwind, maybe something to eat. But guys who followed me have all been stellar, and there's some great guests. And I know Rupert is doing like a montage of some of the great content for you guys to listen to, and there's some cracking stuff, and I've really enjoyed all the interviews. So obviously, as I said, like the timing of it was great, because I say we needed some content, and it's one of the few places where there's a daily show to keep you entertained. And obviously, they were really at hand to be able to discuss, as I mentioned, for how the league finished, how the ramifications, and also the maths of it, and much more in-depth conversation by people who were at the front line experiences. So it was really great to hear coaches and educated people talk about those things. But they also, but the next day, the NBL decided to change the rules, and again, coaches who've got really good experience with discussing, breaking down those rules. It was really interesting to hear a bit more about the safety aspect. There was a lot more debate. So I sort of came in maybe like on the second or third show, I think it was. And initially I just started talking about things that I thought was quite interesting. So I was just looking back now, and let's say since I've been on the show, I've had 19 guests and maybe sort of 6 or 7 shows like this where I'm just talking about a certain topic. But obviously, I'll go back into more detail. I kind of want to talk about the show as a whole, because I say there's a great team of individuals who are putting out great content, and it's great how it's sort of one show leads after the other, so you sort of shared interests. So if you tune into one show, you've got the next show leading on. It's actually really great. So I mentioned about the guys who sort of did the first few shows, formative shows, and I say really, for me, really diversified my interests. Say I'm mostly aware of the NBL senior team, so actually to hear a bit about grassroots, summer camps, the academy structures, people's thoughts on promotion and radiation. It was really interesting because it was things I hadn't really thought of before, took for granted. So definitely check that out. We've also had Jack Gibbs of High Rollers, and he's had some real high quality guests on the show. I say Jack Gibbs is part of High Rollers, a wheelchair basketball club, and he's had some Paralympian guests on, so definitely go back and listen to them. I say usually follows me, so when I've watched shows, it's been the next day after, say I have a bit of downtime after the show, just unwind. But I always catch him in next day, great shows. He's had international guests talking about, and I found really interesting with having Rui on the show. Also, in too much depth about it. He was sort of discussing with Jack about the contrast similarities between the wheelchair game in Portugal and England. Rui was really surprised here, but actually in this country, the British basketball for wheelchair basketball, is really renowned. It's one of the top nations actually in terms of sport supportership. It's quite not really about not many people are aware of that, and I think that's lots of people have been talking on the show about the awareness of the game and understanding. I've obviously had guests in who they've educated me on the rules, and they've educated me a bit about the ladies' game. So it's been really great learning where there's gaps in my knowledge. Because I say we all follow what our passion is, but basketball's such a big game. It encompasses grassroots, internationals, national league and local league. So there's always stuff to listen to, and I think now's a really great time to be learning more about the game when we've got time to. And it's great, as I said, for Upstreamedia to be obviously a platform for that. And I say definitely check in on the Jack Gibbs show. They often lead on after my show, but they're always a great listen. I've really enjoyed listening to them. Great setup and really informative discussions. I must say I've learnt so much more about wheelchair basketball than I did heading into those shows, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a really charismatic guy, great guests. It's always good to learn a bit about the Paralympic side as well. So he's had those high quality guests who've been on the international stage. And then I'll go on to the next one, CJ Lee. He's coach of the So Casual Ladies. He's had an amazing input on his shows. He came onto my shows as a guest, and we talked about the ladies' side a bit, and a bit more in depth about that. because he's been head coach of the Solent National Ladies Program, so he's done back-to-back top 4 finishes. He has a wealth of knowledge and passion for coaching definitely comes across when he's done his show, and I've really enjoyed his show a lot. It's one of my favourite things to watch on the channel. Just it's always really insightful about what goes on behind the scenes of the coaching. He's had his debut. He had Coach Karl on. That was a really great show. Definitely check it back if you haven't seen it. I've had the sub back one up. It's a really good, honest chat. I don't want to go into too much detail. I really want you to, without spoiling it, but it was a really great chat. And I think it was quite topical with stuff that's going on behind the scenes on social media. But quite an honest chat about all things British basketball. And obviously, Coach Carval's had an amazing journey, go from being a player to a coach involved in the junior side of their national team with Team GB. And he's had some great shows. He's had another one that was really good with Coach Xavier, but he's also had Vicky Milner, who's the coach at Keshel's ladies side, and that was really great, insightful on how things go on behind the scenes of the Solent franchise. And they're all great shows, really interested to hear. And especially that last one I mentioned, they really go to sort of tactics and plays, and are really insightful learning a bit about the tactical side of the game. Not often do you hear that when you have chats with basketball guests. I tend to be quite light-hearted, but actually that was quite technical and it was really good to listen. And I say, it's been a really great show to be part of, and hats off to the guys at Upstreamedia for producing a daily show, because it takes a lot of commitment to do it as well as a day job, day in, day out. So if it's the first time you come to this channel, obviously give this channel a subscribe, and turn the notifications on, just to say there's always something on every day around 7:30 in the evening until whenever the high rollers finish on their great show. And it's a really good channel, and I say usually during the season he runs the program, but live streams all the Thames Valley Cavaliers home NBL D1 games. I need to drive throat this evening. And so I obviously want to finish about what I've been doing on my shows. I've been very busy. Most people know I'm on the show most evenings. I try and keep to a schedule of having a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night show. Gives you a bit of a break in between the 2 or 3 day slog doing the interviews, which I really enjoy. And I was just looking back today in preparation show, and I couldn't believe I've had 19 guests on the show, spanning from all the way late March, and they've all been really good watches. It's hard to pick out a favourite, as I've enjoyed them all thoroughly, and the guests are always very engaging and insightful. But for me, I think when I got into basketball, I found it a bit frustrating having a lack of information out there. And I think for me, one of the best shows we had was with referee John Letitia. And it was really good because I got on the show about a few days after the rule changes. So we broke down some rule changes. We looked at the change from a 2-ref system to a 3-ref system. We also looked at a few challenges, and it definitely improved my understanding of the tough job they do on a weekly basis to manage the game and ensure the safety of players, but also that players are playing within the rules. It's just not an easy job, and probably one of the reasons why this season, John, they went from 2 refs to 3 refs. And there was obviously adjustment that. It was really interesting hearing his thoughts about it. I'd love to get back on the show at a later date, because I think sometimes there's a challenge to getting new eyes and ears to our game is through a lack of understanding. When I go watch games, quite commonly I have people around me ask me what the rules are, or what happened there, or who's that player. So it was really interesting to get him on and get his understanding. I definitely learned more, and I'm sure the people did watch it. I had a lot of positive feedback from people on social media saying they really enjoyed that show. But that's one show we've had 18 other top quality guests, going from coaches such as CJ Lee, who's gone on to be a guest, a host on the show. We've had ladies' game with Hannah Shaw, GB athlete, and it was really great to hear insights on the ladies' game and how to market the game better for both sides. One interesting takeaways was that she felt that, like, yes, it could be good to promote the ladies' game, but the more we raise the men's game, the more the ladies' game will be promoted too. And that really struck a bell with me to see that in football, how the ladies' game in the last 2 or 3 years has got a lot of exposure, but actually that's probably the work behind a strong men's game too. So that was really just insightful. We talked about lots of topics. I know I'm going through this really fast, and I know obviously Rupert's doing montage stuff, so it will give you a little insight to some of the shows. And I know on my channel, on my website, I will have a link to all these shows, especially once we've got into a bit more depth to. So you've got on our website, probably be about either tomorrow or Wednesday. It's got a few things to write up. And I'll have some links to some of these shows to say, I think all of them need watching again. I thought that when I was researching the show about 2 or 3 this afternoon, I was going through and finding which obviously I needed guests, we should have that now on the image on the page, but try to find out topics of key talk about, and I was engrossed. So I've asked quite a few to go back and watch either tomorrow or Wednesday. And I say even with all the challenge on at the moment, we're in a sort of golden era for either podcasts or basketball related content, because actually it's one of the few things we can do at the moment, even when there's no games on. I mean, I'm really looking forward to when I go watch a game or have another opportunity to commentate a game, if that's for Upstreamedia or for Solent University Bucks team. But actually, I've really enjoyed the experience, and say thanks to Upstreamedia for having this platform, because it's been really great to listen to some people's stories, but also have an opportunity to discuss things I'm interested in. I sort of said about not all the shows I've had guests on. I've really enjoyed looking deep into stats. Coach Tuna, who's part of the Reading Rockets franchise, suggests for me to look at stats in a different way. So if you go on the NBL site, you see they have a leaderboards for stats. It's usually for leaderboards, are in the 5 key scoring elements of points, rebounds, steals, assists, and blocks, but they are per game. And I sort of broke it down to ages on Excel, copying all the players' names, all their minutes stats, and actually it was really just interesting to see the stats from another perspective, sort of contrasting points per game is what you see on the NBL site to points per minute, and it's interesting to see maybe what players don't play so many minutes, but were actually really effective. So that was a really interesting show. I've also done shows on 10 NBL players, but impressed me this season because I feel like it was really great that the NBL each season does their team of the year, but I always think like that doesn't really encompass the full picture. I feel like people say, "Oh, what about this player?" or "What about this player?" But I felt expanded it to 10. I felt it covered a bit more, and we overturned a bit more depth because, say, if the NBL team of the year, it just has a little picture of 5 players. Whereas I thought I'd talk a little bit about their season because they all had amazing seasons, and I think actually you could have made 2 or 3 teams a year. They all be reasonably strong and filled the players had an amazing season. I think each year the NBL seems to be getting that bit better and better. And obviously the proof in the puddings we saw, but 2 NBL teams were Thunder and Solent did extremely well in the BBL trophy. I'm sure other franchises up there top of NBL could have done a similar job if they had that same opportunity afforded to them. So I got a really dry throat. I'm sure the longer I talk, the drier it'll get, but I'll try and stay with you guys. And I say I hope you're well. So it's a bit of a challenging time, but I feel like there's a lot of content out there to really help keep us going, keep us informed, and diversify our interest in basketball. Just a lot going on and lots of shows have their own unique selling point, and it's been great to see them all. Before I finish moving on to the next topic, I thought, as I say, I mentioned the BBL trophy, but I had the NBL MVP Ian Smith on. He also had an amazing time in the trophy. But on the other side of it, we also had the ex-London City Royals head coach, Lloyd Gardner. It was really great to have him on the show. So he's one of those coaches that's been through a real extensive journey, sort of starting with from like the grassroots, being the head of basketball operations for Barking Abbey, making that jump up to helping out with the juniors in the international stage, but also getting that opportunity to manage in the BBL. And I thought it was, for me, I really wanted to get on the show when I started the show. So the main point is that when that move came about towards London City was, I thought, for me, that was one of the first things this season that I really felt put the NBL on the map, and it was great to have him on. We talked a bit about Barking, we talked a bit about other academies in Europe. We covered so many topics that were really interesting to show. And I could have talked for hours. It was really interesting and also insightful on how the challenges he had while at London City Royals. We didn't go into too much, so I think everyone has their opinion about the negatives of the game, but I kind of wanted to have him on to talk about positives. There was a lot to talk about. Sorry, 1 second. And I say I've had many guests in 19, so they've all been amazing guests. I really appreciate them coming on. Quite a few of them live in America, so obviously that's time difference. Getting them on for this 7:30 show, they're sort of midday there, so it sort of breaks up the day. But actually, it's really good having them on. We've had some amazing guests. Just to reel a few off, we've had Chuck Dewey, who was my first guest. He's been doing a great job on the podcast show. Talk a little bit later. When we had Taylor Johnson, who made the team of the year this season for NBL, was one of the most exciting imports. I believe it was Euro. I'll say Eurosport. It was one of the Euro papers that made him in the import of the year, and also in their NBL team of the year. Also Jonas Diederich, and he's had an amazing journey from the third team up to the seniors. Obviously, he was name checked as well, and Coach Jerome show, he came on the show as well. That's a great guest. He's probably ever seen Leicester Riders' most successful period, say assistant coach for the latter, head coach for the former. And if you're on Instagram today, Jonas uploaded his season highlights, so definitely check that out as well. And obviously the show as well if you haven't. It was a really good show. We talked about lots of stuff. He was involved in the tournament in China last year, and we talked a bit about that. It's a 3-man tournament outdoors. It was a great experience for him and great exposure internationally for the British game. So, and he was an amazing guest and great insights there. I say it's only 3 guests, so I'll try and go through the others a little bit quicker, just so you're not bored with information. But definitely check this out if you haven't already. Really great shows. Next up, I had Martin Gale. He plays Leicester Warriors. So it was really good to have him on. A lot of you will know, but NBL did their NBL live this season. I was really happy to get Martin on because he had an amazing game, that NBL live game. It's one of my highlight games to watch. It was Leicester Warriors versus the Hoods in a local derby, and he did really well from 3-point range that second half. It was great to talk to you about that and much more. I've also had the ref, John Latisa, I told you about. That was a really great show. CJ Lee, who I mentioned earlier, he started his own show. Definitely check that out. He's on every Wednesday from 7:15. I'm sure we have another great guest to talk coaching about. They've been really insightful shows. After that, I had another coach. I coached Greg with Lancashire Spinners. For me, it's a really great opportunity to speak to someone who's very much at the forefront on social media with great ideas. And he has his own podcast, which I'm definitely going to have to watch at some point. I listened to, sorry. And it was great to hear a bit about Lancashire Spinners, who were a NBL 1 side, but have now had to sort of grow from the ground up again. And they've had an amazing season. talking to him, it was great to just hear about the season gone, and he really wanted to test himself in the playoffs against the other teams in the area where the league is split conferences in terms of regions. So he was eyeing up some teams who did reround other regions, but unfortunately never got a chance to test himself against. But I'm sure next season he will in some capacity in D2, all being well. I've also had some US import players such as Mike Williams Jr., who amazed his Hemel Storm. Followers of Rebound on Twitter will know, but he came very close to winning the public vote on the People's Choice Award. He had an amazing season, great to talk to him. We sort of talked about his season gone by, and he was one of many guests that took on the challenge. It's how well do you know your club? I think it's one of the more exciting things I like to do on the show. It's a light-hearted way to promote the stats of his peers and also to test them how well they knew about the stats. Takes a lot of preparing to like delve through either Dave Owen's stats or the NBL to find those stats, but it's really interesting. But we sort of break down the games that are questions on. I try to keep it light-hearted. And with it being a basketball-related quiz, it's players answer 5 questions, 1 on points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And as in basketball, you time to go for an easy shot and get 2 points, or go for a tough shot and go for 3. And if you do really well, you have the chance at a cheeky and 1. And we've had some great guests doing that. And for me, I think I need someone to regulate my questions, because I'm appreciative, but some of them have been quite tough, and then some of them maybe not as tough. But all the players are really well at it. It's great to hear how well they know their players and sort of discuss more than just themselves. Because to say, I think basketball are very much about a team, and it's great about that. So it's a team sport, and it's great to hear a bit about their stories with players they play with, and also understanding of their players, teammates' strengths and stuff. So that's really interesting. As well as Mike Williams Jr. for AJ Karl. For people who don't know, AJ Karl was in the league for 2 years with Reading Rockets, but his season this year got cut short due to an injury. So it was really great to check in with him. He's literally just back to the full fitness the last few weeks. And it's great to hear him and check in with him, make sure he's okay, and also talk a bit about his great 1.5 years with Reading and all things Reading Rockets. That was really interesting. Also, Ricky Fetzi, long-time Bradford Dragons player, so that was a great show. We talked a bit about Bradford Dragons season. And I've had so many more. Ian Smith, Mukesh, as I mentioned earlier, and Josh Bett, who's got a great show. The documents history of basketball. And then last week or so, I've had Nottingham Hood's Demetrius Houston. It was great to hear about his time at Princeton University, and obviously to see some he's had for Hoods. And I mentioned the next ones already. Hannah Shaw, where we talked about ladies hoops, Coach Gardner, Coach Showham, and also had Thomas Baker. And finally, and not really less least, really, if you have a guess, I've had Travis Charles and Nick Richards, who are probably both in that conversation when people think about sharpest shooters definitely this season. Both have had a really great season for the Kestrels and Rockets, respectively. Sort of leading on to the next topic, where I'm sort of talking about stuff that's really interested me from an external point of view, not just stuff related to Upstreamedia, but lots of other things going well. It was really great to get Thomas Baker on, really great guests, really great insights. It came at a really good time to see his franchise, Essex the Hearts Leopards, had released a segmented history of their 25 years. And at the time, they'd released 3 segments. We talked a bit about that. They've really well-structured pieces, which I love reading. There's a bit of newspaper articles, pictures, stories from years gone by, and it's really great. And I definitely recommend that if you've not seen it. It's really just to learn a bit more about the history of the game. And I think it's just a sign of hope because it shows time not so far away where actually there was a lot of sponsorship, a lot of marketing going into the game. So hopefully we can get back to that at some point. We just have to wait and see, and obviously keep developing the basketball product in the UK. And I think lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about other things that are going on because for me, when I started Rebound, it was me and my best mate. We only got to basketball sort of 3 or 4 years ago. Prior to start, probably was 3 or 4 years ago now. And at the time, so we were both long-time football fans, and I'm sure a lot of you know, but there's so much information out there on football. I was born in Swindon, a small town in Wiltshire, but even just if I went to watch a Swindon game, I'd probably know a little bit about the opponent players. I'd probably know a bit about the history of that club. I'd know quite a lot about the history of the club I supported, but also there'd be up-to-date league tables, up-to-date transfers, everything. You get a lot of information for your money in football, especially with BBC Sport Football. So many news stories, and I had an unconventional journey to basketball, said getting into 3 or 4 years ago. Prior to that, obviously I knew basketball sport, but none of my coaches at PE teachers at school were that interested. They sort of horseshoed me to badminton or football or other sports, and they kept me busy. Say it's hard with the country, and if you're interested in sport, it's probably a clash with other sport. To say the weekends are a way to watch competitive sport the majority of time, and I say my early years I was going to watch football every weekend, so it was hard for me to really to understand, to sort of have that awareness of basketball. I think that's quite evident now. If you go onto the BBC Sport page, football has the most stories. Basketball does the NBA, but it's always new. You think, well, that's not in this country. I'm not going to watch it. Unless you're part of a well-financed family, you probably not going to be over there. So actually, it's if you're interested in basketball, that's a great thing. It's well marketed. It's sort of what I was trying to think of the word, the holy grail in that sport. Really, I think a lot of people today, their main interest in basketball is the NBA. Unfortunately, in this country, and I think a lot of that's down to lack of information out there. I think if people understood more about the volunteers, hard workers, coaches, players behind the scenes, they have a bit more of interest in it, but more passion towards it. I think obviously that's quite a broad statement. Obviously, it's not too everyone. There's a lot of people who are really passionate about basketball. I think actually, in terms of a marketing news outlet perspective, there's not many stories out there that are centric to British basketball. So it's a bit of a long-winded. I kind of lost where I was going with it. I started Rebound, and so I started watching my local club. Really got into it, but I say I'm used to as a football fan, like knowing the other team players, and it was some teams easier than others, and maybe not for whole squad or half squad. And obviously that knowledge develops if you know players and know where to look on social media or the site. But in general, it's an independent news outlet that was really been out there. I find it quite hard, going to game and not knowing that stuff. I really wanted to learn more about the game and enrich my experience. And I've been speaking to Rupert a bit off air. We've also both talked a bit about developing understanding. As I mentioned earlier in the video, when I go to games, it's not uncommon for me to have people in the bleachers by me like, why is that call made? Or who's that player? Or why is that happen? What's that mean? And I think a lot of those, if they knew the answer, it develops their knowledge and it wants to come back. I say, otherwise you're sat there for 3 hours not knowing what's going on. And if you're thinking, oh, they can come back on that, I think you probably know the answer about me 10 years. Very unlikely if they don't know what's happening. So if you don't watch a movie, if you don't know what's happening, you're not going to recommend it to your friend. You're like, oh, watch this thing. You really know what's going on. It was all right. Yes. That sounds good. It's like, oh, it's great. It's, the rules really support a fast movement sport. Yeah, okay, I did agree with her decision, but I felt like I knew what was going on, and I felt involved. You're more likely to get those people coming back and back. So we sort of sat down, my friend, and I was like, it's a bit frustrating. I've always been taught to be the change you want to see. So for us, it was pretty simple, but let's go on, let's do this. And let's say it's our second season, and I've really enjoyed it. But for me, creating Rebound is not about building my brand, it's more about building a British basketball brand. So that's why I feel it's really important to promote the other stuff as well. I say I'm really grateful for Upstreamedia. I never really thought I would have the opportunity to come on here, talk basketball, talk about my passion, and talk about why I love the game and what interests me, as I have done since middle of March. And so I'm still going, I'm still enjoying it. And it's one of the things that really helps me get through this lockdown. But so I think about this more. I was thinking I'm really enjoying doing. I say never thought I'd have this opportunity. So Social Media got me doing commentating, which I've done twice now. And for me, never playing the game, I think that's close in terms of adrenaline rush I did get. It was a really great experience. But and it's great to learn a bit more about the game. I think in terms of personal favourite, I don't want to just comment on the plays. I kind of want to understand a bit more about it in terms of like zonal marking or man to man, or sort of having a bit more awareness of what's going on in terms of it more of a tactical game than just simply men running from one end to the other. So for me, it's all about understanding the game. I've really enjoyed having people on my show talking about it, and also learning a bit from, say, the refs and the players and the coaches. And I think it develops your interest. If you know more about it, you naturally become more passionate and more informed and enjoy it, because you say, for me, one of the best things I've learned since I've been doing rebounds is how hard everyone behind the scene works. To say it's so easy to go into and just watch the game and enjoy just the game, but if you're taking the fact that maybe like that head coach is also coaching the academy team or the second team, the university team, when they're also like helping out the other coaches behind the scene, it's like wow, and just that wow factor to it all. And as I said, like because I tore up alongside rebound, I didn't really want it to be Chris Hughes and pro Chris Hughes. As much as I'm enjoying doing this and developing my skill sets, I really want to sort of promote other things and make basketball experience better for everyone. Because say, I feel like one thing that would really benefit basketball is having more people interested in the British basketball, because I think that's quite evident. So I watched online when BBC Red Button had the GB games, and there was not many people seats and bums, and sorry, bums on seats, not seats on bums. And he's obviously like showcase events, obviously not as full. But when the NBA team's home town is sold out, and then people can't get a seat, it just seems like it's silly, really. Just obviously there is a difference between the NBA players and the British players. I'm not going to try and debate that, but it's more the fact that actually, if you like basketball, you probably would still like the offering that's on with the British basketball. And that's how I've really enjoyed it. And this season might, I've been watching more ladies basketball, I've been watching more international basketball. And I really hope that continues next season. I've really enjoyed it. Say from going from a so international fan to sort of an NBL fan to a British basketball fan, it's been a really great journey, and it's really diversified my interest. It definitely shows helped having listened to Jack Gibbs on High Rollers talk about wheelchair basketball. I've learned so much about that, and it's even more respect for the players playing it. So they play in the same rules, same court, same hoop, and they still do really well. The same, we're lucky in this country. Actually, the GB team's really good, so definitely tune back in to them and listen to them, because he's had some really great guests. You had Dylan Cummins, he's had Joe on, who was also Paralympic, and I really enjoyed hearing about his journey. They were talking a bit about his time in Hanover in Germany, and the facilities there were amazing. It's lovely to hear about that, because I think if we learn from like the other countries and develop ideas, it's a great idea, and it will only help benefit the game. And also, I've enjoyed having listened to Coach CJ's shows. There's more of a coaching aspect, but to say again, for a fan myself, it's a different level to what I'm used to hearing. It's great to sort of a lot of transferable skills. A lot about leadership, and it's great to hear the passions of the coach say who work tremendously hard behind the scenes. So moving on, there's so much. I think everyone will agree there's a lot of basketball content at the moment, and there's some great shows. A lot of them I haven't had time to watch at the moment. That's not because I'm avoiding it, it's just that I'm actually quite busy doing this show 5 days a week, preparing. And I say apologies now if I don't mention your show. It's not a slight. There's just so much going on there. Also, side note, if you do have a podcast or YouTube show you want me to promote, on my website Rebound, I do a page and just have a little bit about each show, because I think the more we learn, the more we watch, the better it'll be for basketball. And there's so much great stories out there. I was listening to Two Brits One Orange Ball. They had Brendan Ocker one quote. Obviously, I got a personal interest in that, being a Cashers fan. But actually, it was a really good show, because I think Brendan re-highlighted it well. But everyone has their story to tell. If that's the fan in the bleachers, the ref, the player, or the coaches. And that show in particular was really good, because Brendan went into a lot about the technical side of it, and a lot of people who know NBL won that quite well will say that the work that the coaches behind the scenes potentially is amazing. And it sort of elevates their play to the next level. And it's great to hear Brendan talking a bit about the tactical side. As a fan, I have no idea about. Sorry. It's not something I've been brought up for my whole life. Obviously, as players have, in terms of, go from the junior set to seniors. And that was a really good show to watch. I've also, obviously, I said we had Josh Bett on the show, and his is obviously a bit more geared. He's done BBL history, but he also has quite a lot of the NBA history too. But it's been great learning about first British basketball in the NBA. It was from Southampton, and he's done some amazing shows. Obviously, he's well versed in British basketball history, I suppose. Shows on each of the BBL franchises, if you do others as well. Another guest on the show, we had Chuck Dury. He does the ISO podcast. He had Kofi Joseph, who's a great person to have on. He's great experiences, and obviously played in the highest level as well. So that was a good show. So lots of great stuff out there. And obviously head to my website to find out a bit more. Another guest we had was Coach Greg. He does I can't pronounce it. He has a great podcast too, and it's one I definitely need to listen to. So he was a very interesting guest, has some great stories to tell. There's so many others, and I say, if you're a bit bored, not know what to do, obviously I would say head to the Upstreamedia channel first with great content, but you wouldn't go too far on listen to any other stuff either. So there's a lot of good stuff up there. I've only listened to snippets of bits. I've say my to-do list in terms of watching podcasts either on this shows on this channel, and obviously podcasts or other YouTube shows is massive. One thing I really enjoyed early on in the off season, was the Lowell Dank and Pop Spencer Bonsu shows. They were really interesting. I'll be honest, saying a lot more cup of tea in respect of the negativity, but actually there's some really great stories in there, and it's great to hear their experiences today. Time they were playing either in the NBA or here. It's a little bit before I got into Gibbs, so I learned so much to listen to them, and it was a really great, informative show. I think that's almost a wrap. I'll be on 45 minutes, so I imagine you guys probably want a little bit of a rest and enjoy the rest of your evening. But before I go, I thought I'd just let you know what's going on this week. I've got, which I think I've got as well. Tomorrow I've got Derby Trailblazers, Trey Reelford on the show. I really look forward to having Trey on. I did a show early on in the season, I think, where I talked a bit about how Derby could be a threat next season. I really look forward to having him on the show. People who listen to my watch one of my shows earlier on in the off season would know that I said that Derby is one of the toughest teams to beat in 2020. Meteoric rise, they end up in the top 4, so it'd be great to hear from Trey and a bit about that success. He had a great season from, so I'm really looking forward to sort of delving into that. I'll also be pitching his knowledge how well he knows the club. It's a really light-hearted career, which I mentioned about earlier. Wednesday is my typical day off, but I know Coach CJ is on, and I'll be definitely listening to that on Wednesday evening, 7:15. I'm sure he's having another high caliber guest. It's always been really great listens. Thursday, I might have 2 shows. I'm not sure at the moment, but High Rollers be on in the evening, probably about 8:30, I reckon. And then I'm probably following them on with Tom Atkinson. Tom approached me the other day, saying we want to come on the show. Great to have him on. So he's a really great, interesting character. For those who don't know, Tom played for Nottingham McDonald's Hoods this season and had a great season. He's obviously from Australia, so when I said to him, if he was come on to the show at 7:30 evening, as per my usual slot, we had a look at 2:30 in the morning in Australia. I don't envy him, but we'll probably come on at 9:30, which is a little bit early morning start for him, but I'm sure he'd be a great guest. Looking forward to him. People follow him on Instagram. He did some great videos, probably a month ago now, actually, but recently did lots of trick shots in his house. Obviously, he was trying to pass the time, but he had great shooting ability, do these little trick shots with, I think there were ping pong balls on. Can't remember now, I've got to whack my memory. So at the end of my memory about that Instagram video he was doing, I say, probably about a month ago. I'm still waiting confirmation from my guest on Friday or Saturday, but I'll announce that at due time just to make sure the guys who I've got lined up can still come on. If you're new to the channel, as I said, please give it a subscribe. Upstreamedia do amazing work. Say during the season, they live stream all of Thames Valley Cavaliers home games. It's a great setup, and one of the guys on there got the Young Volunteer of the Year, so obviously his work's been recognised, and I didn't need him to get an award to know how much work they do behind the scene. It's an amazing setup, multiple cameras. Ty often has a few people under him, and he manages them really well. When I made my debut in this second time, I thought he was really good, giving me cues on what was going on, because as they were editing, it's not only a live stream, but it's also a slow motion capture. So at the end of replay, if there's a bit of stoppage, that play highlight, I really enjoyed going on there, and obviously retrospectively watching those videos back and others, it's really good content. They have guests, commentators with people with opportunities. I think it's really great the work they do, and I wholeheartedly recommend you check it out. And obviously it's going to be doing daily shows, so they'll be really great to listen to. If you're new to Rebound, you can follow me on social media on all the channels. I think on Twitter it's at Rebound __, but on Facebook and Instagram it's at Rebound NBL. Obviously to follow Upstreamedia as well. All social media, they post links to the show, so if you're on there, give them a follow to say that's another way to keep up to date with everything they do. I hope you have a lovely evening. Great sort of reflecting. There's been so many great shows. I've really enjoyed going back to them. So we often watch stuff once, but actually when we watch so much other thing, we forget what's happened. So for me, I probably added about 20 or 30 shows from the last 6-7 weeks. So I'm like, I want to watch that again because they're really interested in it. All the hosts are amazing at what they're doing. You've got Jack Gibbs, High Rollers, CJ Lee, our Prakeshas, and obviously at the start, Rupert Charles, the show's producer, had many guests on. who academy coach backgrounds, and they also had Robert Banks on, who's head coach of the Cavaliers. So there's a really great insights of people involved in the game. And I say that's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and stay safe, stay well. I'm back on tomorrow here at Trey Milford. That's a lot. Stay safe. Take care, and goodbye from me, and goodbye from Upstreamedia for this evening. Goodbye.